Are you unable to concentrate on the tasks at hand? Do you need help focusing more or leveling up your game? Here's a tip. Try Cognizin Citicoline, clinically studied to support mental energy, focus, memory, and attention. Cognizin supports brain health and supplies the brain with the energy it needs to stay sharp. Cognizin is a leading nootropic, featured in over 200 products. This podcast is powered by Cognizin. Visit cognizin.com to learn more and find a product to help you fuel your day.
Ready to achieve great heights? Then you're in the right place. Welcome to Power Your Performance, the podcast where we dive deep with leaders in the gaming world and beyond and learn the techniques they use to power their lives. I am your host, Gary Kleinman.
Power Your Performance, powered by Cognizin, is thrilled to have two leaders in the world of gaming, Angel Bernard and Mike Williams. Welcome.
Thank you. It's exciting.
Hi, Gary.
It's good to see you.
Great to see you.
It's nice to have somebody twice. So welcome again.
Thank
you guys both have enormous background and experience in gaming, which we're going to touch on briefly. And then we're going to go into the wonderful world of actually live event and esports arenas, which is exciting, wonderful, bright, colorful, communal, and everything else. Angel, I know your history in gaming from the days of Microsoft and GameCo to what you're doing at EsportsU. Your formal title right now is the Executive Director of the Board of Directors at Glytch.com. Tell me about that affiliation and how that came about. And then we'll ask Michael why he's here.
I ask myself that all the time.
Mike is the visionary. I think Mike envisioned everyone's sort of dream venue around esports, and he built it out. He built more on top of it, and I think that's why I'm really excited to be a part of the board. This is an amazing project in development. Just quickly on my background, I started out as managing partner of the Gamer Agency, ran the Microsoft Mixer Studio and the flagship store in Manhattan, created a lot of amazing content. I also worked with the city of Atlantic City in a public-private partnership, curating and managing a host incentive fund for Atlantic City. We were going to build a venue there, but we didn't end up doing it. But that program, I believe, was one of the first models for public-private partnerships for esports, which you see now today is sort of making its way across the country in different markets. And I also have a partnership now with CSL International, which is owned by Legends, and we do feasibility studies in the esports marketplace for markets that are interested in getting into esports and want to figure out how they can do that in their community. And then, of course, as you mentioned earlier, my love is the work that I'm doing in collegiate esports at EsportsU, having a lot of fun working and building and pioneering and innovating in collegiate esports. And when Mike asked me to join the board, I was very thrilled and excited because I believe in his vision. I believe in what he's doing. And one of the main reasons is because two reasons. One is we use the word esports a lot, esports stadium, but the main revenue drivers are not esports events alone. And Mike can go into more of his model there. And then the second thing that I really appreciate and give a lot of credence to Mike too is the partnerships that he's been able to get to come to the table for this project are purely best in class. ASM Global, Legends, Cisco, Scenario, Populous. These are the best groups in the world to work with. And so I believe in their vision and what they're doing, and I'm happy to support any way I can.
Well, which is great. And it's no secret why he tapped you for that with the excellence that you have done so far to date and will continue to. So I get Mike saying you're critical to the future of Glytch, which then, Mike, brings the spotlight to you. I know just where you want to be.
Yeah, not really.
I know. I know that.
Our motto for this is tell no one.
It's always great when I talk to you because I don't want to be seen or anything else except that you are a visionary and you go back to gaming well before GameWorks. So where did it start?
Well, I'm a lifelong video game developer. I created my first video game and had it published at 12 years of age. And it was written in BASIC. It was published in a magazine. And the way people were able to play it is they had to type in the code themselves and then they could play it. So it was printed in a magazine and you had to enter the code and then you could play the game. But then at 17, I went to work for Interplay Studios, where we ended up doing, I was the PC programmer on a whole series of hits, and I was a level designer and eventually a creative director on a whole bunch of ancient video games that were way back in the day: Bard's Tale, Wasteland, Battle Chess, those kind of things. And I think the only reason I got to be a PC programmer was because I owned a PC. And I remember when Brian Fargo hired me, he basically said, if we hire you, will you bring your PC to the office? So I think it was the PC he hired, not me. But then I went to work for Virgin and I made a bunch of video games there. Then I started my own studios. So I've run 3 different game studios in my life. I've published, produced, been a lead programmer or creative director on over 25 hit video games that have sold 500,000 units or more. That's how we define that. And a lot of them were, connected games, first online game for console, first massively multiplayer online game, all kinds of stuff like that. Because I'm also simultaneously and independently of that, I'm a lifelong game player. Board games, Magic the Gathering, games like Diplomacy. And I've always organized the local, game club where I've done tournaments and leagues of all sorts, I've owned a game store for over 20 years, 2 of them, in fact. And so I just happen to be a fan of organizing teams and leagues and games and stuff. And I never knew that those 2 things would come together, and be esports. I mean, because what is esports except organizing an event around a video game? And,
right.
And so having, real life, because I define esports as in real life. Just playing each other online, that's online video gaming. That's a whole different category. Esports is best enjoyed and experienced in real life.
There's nothing
comes from.
Quite like the experience of an in-person competitive esports environment.
That's right. Well, and I guess most recently, my most recent famous thing is we bought GameWorks. GameWorks is, of course, the location-based entertainment. It was started by Steven Spielberg. It's actually named after DreamWorks, DreamWorks. I didn't catch that either. It was built in 1996. It grew to 28 of them. By the time we bought them, they were down to 9. But what we did was we got involved in helping them add esports to all the locations. So there's an esports center inside of GameWorks, and it was wildly successful because one of the things we've heard time and time again is nobody makes money in esports. That the only people who make money in esports are the publishers. And we're like, well, hold on a minute. We put esports LAN centers inside of GameWorks, and we made money. Although it wasn't the esports center itself that made the money. They were basically break even. But what happened is the EBITDA of the entire place went up. In other words, it wasn't just the presence of esports, it's the impact it had on the rest of GameWorks. Because people were eating the food, drinking the drinks, playing the video games.
So you were increasing foot traffic and butts and seats.
Exactly. And I also think it was a demographic change, whereas, like Chuck E. Cheese Pizza and Dave & Buster's, Chuck E. Cheese Pizza aims at children 13 and younger and their parents. Dave & Buster's aims at corporate events, where people are 40 years old and older. We were aiming at 15 to 25 to 30. That was our sweet spot, right in the middle, the esports range. And those people, GameWorks became a cool place to hang out. And it was to an age range where they're old enough to have their own money. They're old enough, many of them, to be able to drink adult beverages. And they all eat like vacuum cleaners. I mean, just continuously eating food. And, and actually one of the main things we wanted to do with GameWorks is make better food. No more of that, sugar-coated meat that they serve at most barcades.
Right.
So we had to make better food. But the numbers were undeniable. And then there's this whole question about whether or not esports is a sport, right? Is it a sport if you can drink while doing it? Is it a sport that you can smoke and drink while doing it? No. Or vape, I guess, is the modern term. And the answer is the numbers are undeniable. More people watch other people play video games than watch, real sports, basketball, baseball. So
having heard that question of whether esports are athletes and whether esports is a sport, my answer to that has always been, who cares? Right?
Yeah.
It doesn't really matter.
It's all about the viewership.
Why put a handle on it or define it? Yeah. It is what it is. It doesn't, it's always like, Coca-Cola, what flavor? Well, Coke that's the flavor. It's Coke. When they wanted to change it, it became Coke Orange or Coke Lemon, but Coke is just Coke. And I don't know why esports and gaming, it's just esports and gaming. It doesn't have to be a sport like,
and I should say that prior to this, prior to this, I owned a LAN center, and and the thing about the model of a LAN center, like Nerd Street, like Belong Gaming, etc. The problem with LAN centers is most of the people who operate these things, they don't serve alcohol, they don't serve food. Many of them don't have merchandise, right? And so the thing is, although LAN centers are fun, video games is fun, are fun. The people operating them are more like enthusiasts, like they're enthusiastic about video games, but they don't really appreciate how to run a retail store. And because we had GameWorks, we learned this is what it's like when you do know how to run retail. And in fact, Angela and I were talking about, there's a place in Chicago called the Ignite Gaming Lounge. And we were just taking a look at that company and how they do serve alcohol and they do serve food and they're making a killing. Isn't that right, Angela?
Yeah, he reports they're doing very well. And he's been doing it for 20 years. I think he realized also that gaming is just one of the features, Ross. So, yeah.
Well, so Glytch, and let's go back just a little. So Glytch is a physical space as opposed to a digital or just a LAN center that you see differently than what has been done traditionally to date, which is like, the Allied, the Arlington Center, Simplicity, Belong, all of those do whatever they do, and they've done them well, and they're gorgeous. Well, they've each had their own whatever challenges, no different than any other business. But the Glytch, not a center, but arenas, I don't know the how you're describing it, the place.
Stadium.
Okay.
Stadia. Yeah, Stadia is Google took our word, Stadia. Well, okay, so
whatever, whatever so that Gary, descriptor is, Glytch is its primary focus is what, and how do you differentiate yourself? One way you already have is to look at it as a business per se, which is critical in this space because too many people look at it as an activity and not a business. So explain Glytch.
Yeah, no, just like all those 20 years of me owning a game store, it wasn't a business, it was an activity. That's exactly right, because you don't own a game store with the idea of making money.
Right.
It's just a place to hang out with and play Magic the Gathering on a weekend. No, but let me put it in perspective. And mind you, you got to appreciate, we really do have the attitude of tell no one. That really is our position on this, that we want to catch the world by surprise when we finally really reveal what we're doing. But Gary, I love you, so I'm going to tell you what it is. So
okay.
Here's the thing. I've been hearing from everybody that esports is a sport, that esports is bigger than traditional sports. It's going to rival baseball and basketball, and it's even going to come after the NFL in terms of its numbers. And I think there's a lot of evidence to that. You see the kids, they spend more, people under a certain age range are spending more time watching other people play video games than anything else on streaming services, right? And everybody talks about it. And even Blizzard, God bless them, decided to put out this Overwatch League where the entire league is designed with regional teams, and you have to pay tens of millions of dollars to be the official licensee for territories. And the people who are creating these teams are themselves the same kinds of people who own football stadiums or football teams and football stadiums, and they own baseball teams. I mean, the kinds that people are making the investors, the Stan Kroenkes, the Robert Krafts, and they're investing $100 million plus to start an esports team these days. FaZe just went public, and
yes.
And their valuation's like $1.5 billion. So with all that money in all these places, the one thing that hasn't happened, and the thing that I just seized upon, even as we were going into a pandemic, it's like, where are the stadiums? If esports is a sport, there ought to be stadiums. In fact, there ought to be 32 stadiums. Why 32? Because that's how many baseball teams there are. That's how many football teams there are. Should they be regional? Absolutely, they should be regional. How do I say that? Because when I lived in Seattle, I became a Seahawks fan. When I left, I stopped being a Seahawks fan. So yeah, they ought to be regional. And so there ought to be stadiums, there ought to be teams in the stadiums, and there ought to be 32 of them. And everybody talks about it, and nobody's doing it. And and even as things like Nerd Street and Belong Gaming are popping up all over the place, they might call themselves stadiums, but they're really land centers. And there's a big difference, right? There's a difference. A stadium is where you sit and watch professionals play, and that you have an opposing team, playing against a home team. And if you're going to do it right, if you actually want to make money, it's got to have food and alcohol and a whole bunch of location-based entertainment. In other words, you have to take a high-performance theater, combine it with a GameWorks, tune it up to 100,000 square feet, and make it the official home stadium of a professional esports team. And I've been pitching that even as we went into a pandemic. And son of a gun, if people didn't start flocking to the idea. And as Angela alluded to, the people that are now backing this deal and part of this deal is literally a best of class who's who of esports. And, and if she's the queen of college esports, I suppose what we're doing together is pro esports. And it's all about getting pro esports teams to occupy all of our stadia, which we are actively building. And the reason we tell no one is because it's incomprehensibly big what we're doing. It's the budget for this is $1.728 billion. Well,
I was going to say, to do that, you basically have to open them all at once, correct?
Yeah, and we need to spend.
We're pretty close to that, as opposed to, the other land centers. Those to me, and they're very valuable. And there's a place in the community for them. They meet, they learn, but they're almost like the math tutoring centers, like the Huntington learning centers for video gaming, as opposed to what you're talking about, which is an entertainment-focused, competitive, larger league that everybody participates in, and then you can have local affinity.
And why struggle? Why struggle to fund one location if you can struggle to fund 4 of them? So much more fun. Although speaking as a capital raiser, I will say this: sometimes it's easier. It's easier to raise $100 million than 10 million, and it's easier to raise 10 million than 1 million, right?
As counterintuitive as that may sound, it is 100% true.
Well, and I got to say, so the partners that Angela alluded to who are in this deal with us, our strategic partners, their collective market capitalization, if you will, is almost $1 trillion. These are gigantic companies.
Oh, yeah. There's no question.
Yeah. And the thing is, like even right now, as we're going into, there's inflation, the Fed's going to raise the rates, that kind of stuff, the down economy or a pandemic. These companies are so big that doesn't really phase them as much as it does.
No, they have staying power, and to a certain extent, which
absolutely,
you're a line item, a small line item.
Absolutely.
In their annual budget.
Yeah, if anything, we're too small. Even we have to tell the story of 32 locations to be big enough for them to even bother with us.
Yeah, which is kind of interesting. So Angela, from your production experience and the content you produce, which is really about entertainment and storytelling, how do you see Glytch and the entertainment story portion of it as unique and different than a lot of what has come on before?
Well, I mean, I think it's the model for modern day entertainment. Gamers are not kids. In fact, this facility, according to Michael's vision and what he's outlaid here, will be for what's your target age group, Mike? It's
15 to 35. Yeah.
15 to 35. So it's not a Chuck E. Cheese, in other words.
Yeah, exactly.
But I think
not unless they lower the alcohol age, right?
Yeah.
The legal drinking age, if it goes down, maybe, but not yet.
Yeah. I mean, I think this is a place where you go for date night. This is a place where you go to see all the latest technology. This is a place where you go to do escape rooms and experience new VR and AR experiences. I mean, something I'd love to see us fulfill is something like a what's the Epic Games, the
Fortnite?
Unreal Engine, like an Unreal Engine experience where you come in and experience.
So it's really not just gaming. So if right, so
it's not just gaming at all. And Mike knows this business so well, the LBE business, so much better than I. But this is not just LBE, it's also the most innovative and pioneering types of LBE that he's planning to put inside.
So do you also look at putting like ping pong tables and not compete with, but as an option from all the the ping pong venues that have come up that have been incredibly popular, and I guess these days you might have to increase your footprint for pickleball.
We love pickleball. But that's the thing. So it really is. It is a combination of a GameWorks, a high tech, super modern, GameWorks combined with a high tech performance venue that doubles as a theater, and is our stadium, and it's that and by the way, the third component is broadcasting. So the idea that you've got live events, broadcast, Glytch on Twitch, and you have professional teams, and you've got and so many so many options to have fun. In fact, I've been talking more on the business side. I should talk about the vision side. First off, people should go and look at Glytch.com. So even as we don't want anybody to know what we're doing, if you go to Glytch.com, there's a conceptual video of what we're building right now in Los Angeles. And it's mind-blowing. People, and I think a video is worth 1,000 words, right? It really explains to you what it is we're building. And it's in the background, but it's on the homepage of Glytch.com. Glytch with a Y, there's no I in Glytch. Yeah. That being said, we want this whole thing to operate like it's a video game. The whole thing, when first time you come to visit a Glytch, you're a level 1 guest. In order to get access to certain hidden features inside Glytch, you have to level up. There's quests. You have to complete quests to get access to things. We have this concept called privilege in plain sight, where once you've got a certain level or a certain amount of badges on your profile, then you get to access hidden nooks and crannies that are in there. There's actually in the video, if you pay attention to it, there's a secret Doctor Who room in the interior of the TARDIS that you can't get to unless you happen to know it's there and you happen to have the right badges and honors to get there. And it helps if you know what the heck Doctor Who is.
Yes,
So,
yes.
so
It's like
surprising how many
finding the
people haven't
dining
heard
room.
of it. Yeah.
It's like finding the dining room door at Disneyland. You know.
Well, as a matter of fact, so I've been a member of Club 33 at Disneyland. If you don't know what that is, you're not supposed to know what it is.
Of course.
And so we have that exact concept where there are literally areas and attractions and fun stuff inside every GameWorks inside every glitch. I should stop using that word. Inside every glitch that you can only access if you know it's there and you have the right levels and achievements and honors. And by the way, would older folks be able to handle all the digital stuff inside there? No, absolutely not. In fact, we had to do a study, like for instance, like how do you activate everything in this place? You do it using your smartphone. So so instead of getting one of those little plastic cards like they have at a Dave & Buster's, instead you just take your smartphone, download the app, walk up to an arcade machine and wave your phone in front of it, and magically it activates and it knows who you are, right? Isn't that fantastic? Well, the question was, well, wait a minute, what if our customers don't have smartphones? So we actually ran a tournament at UC Irvine, and we did a survey of how many of the students had smartphones. And it turned out over 100% of them did. And like, what do you mean over 100%? I said every single one of them had a smartphone. Some of them had more than one smartphone. Yeah. So we're going to take a chance and say, if you don't have a smartphone, you're not welcome at Glytch. We don't need you here.
If you don't have a smartphone, you don't care about what's going on inside that it just.
Exactly.
Right.
And pretty soon they're going to get rid of non-smartphones and what have you. But it would take somebody with your background and your passion for not only video gaming but pure gaming, whether it's board gaming, card gaming, to think of all of this, to make it so interactive for a broad-based audience, even within, a relatively narrow age bracket, but not an insignificant bracket. Mm-hmm. The interesting that, when I hear you say all these things, especially with a smartphone, is the incredible value of the data that you will be accumulating.
Well, and it's all about people caring about their own profiles. Like what is their ranking, ratings, badges, honors, achievements, personal bests, records, what teams are they members of? So, I mean, the whole thing is built around the culture of leaderboards matter, right? We want people to actually care, what their rank is on a leaderboard and so forth. Because it's fun. I mean, in my past life, we set the Guinness World Record for largest rock, paper, scissors tournament. Fun as heck doing it. And thing about it is rock, paper, scissors ultimately isn't all that particularly interesting of a game, right? It's a relatively mild game, but you make a tournament out of it and you have, thousands of people competing. Now it's fun, so you take any, all of Glytch is designed to be tournamentizable. Everything in the place is tournamentizable. So do we have ping pong tables? Yes. And we've got the accoutrement necessary to run ping pong table tournaments. Do we have escape rooms? Yes. But we also set them up in a way where you can have escape room tournaments where you're actually racing against another team that has an identically set up room, and the two of you are competing to see who gets it done first. Right. Everything in the place is like that. The pool tables, the dartboards.
You're like supermarket sweeps, but a current version of it, right? I mean,
absolutely.
Where everybody's racing through, picking up the watermelon faster than the team next to them. So,
absolutely. Yeah. And if you've never had a chance to participate in something like that, it's fun as heck. And then you got the opposite thing, which is, sometimes people just want to be left alone. They just want to play their games and not be bothered. And that's where all the hidden rooms and nooks and crannies. I mean, who doesn't love a speakeasy where, all of a sudden the bookshelf moves and behind there's a whole bar back there.
There's no question. I think it's great. What's your timeline? And then,
I hope to live long enough
to see it to fruition.
Yeah. So the first locations start opening in 24, but it is at the rate of 4 per year for starting in 24 and for 8 years in a row to get to 32. So, it's 4 and 24, 4 and 25, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And less people doubt it. The first leases are already signed. The first, projects are already under development. And without saying exactly where, we can say it's Los Angeles, Chicago, Atlanta, and Bellevue. So it's easy to remember: LA, ABC, Atlanta, Bellevue, Chicago, ABC. But those are the first 4, but we do have the second 4 and the third 4 already, in the works negotiations wise.
So having this being such a comprehensive land-based entertainment center, does it get rid of the need for some of these smaller land centers, or is that compatible?
No, absolutely the opposite. In fact, that's how Angela and I completely bonded on this subject. Is we want to be one of the biggest supporters of college esports and the biggest supporter of land centers that do these things. I mean, and bluntly, I mean, I'm being a little bit arrogant about it, but those land centers need help. You don't make enough money renting computers in a public place to keep the lights on. You have to have food. You have to have alcohol. If you don't have that, then what you need is Big Fat Glytch to be one of your sponsors. So we want to sponsor all these tournaments, and we look at them as satellites, that they can run satellite events and help feed us, because we're the pro stadiums. I mean, these you didn't ask, but these stadiums seat 2,500 to 5,000 people. These are no joke.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
Fact, they're suitable for concerts and comedians and all that kind of stuff, fairly large scale stuff. And our partners include some of the best acts in the world. They manage all these amazing acts. So we want the land centers around us, and the colleges to sort of, view us as the pro team, and us view them as the, if you will, the minor leagues or the.
No, I think it's important. It's certainly important for the community aspect of gaming that you're partners as opposed to competitors per se. And that obviously goes a long way with mutual support in all the areas that you're competing. And it's great for colleges. I mean, it's a great practice center. It's a great access for certainly the clubs, right? The college clubs. It's a great home for them as well. I think it's exciting. I'm not going to take too much of your secrets away, since you told me the whole thing's a secret.
You promised me you were going to delete
might
this
not
when
even
we were done, right?
We might not even distribute this because it's so
Please
secretive, right?
Pull it out. Pull it out at the funeral.
We'll put a hold on it till 24, and we'll see how we all age. No, I appreciate it. I think this is a great glimpse of the future of arenas, where they have to go. Because I think the underlying subject matter is, and Angela and I touched about on this earlier in another session, is, nobody really knows where esports is going. If there's anything that we know, it's going somewhere, but where, who knows? And this is actually a great roadmap from the entertainment value, and peppered in with all the real life competition. And that's what gaming is really all about. And gaming at its core, I guess, it's just incentive-based behavior. And from all the things that you're including, there's incentives to not only participate, but to continue to participate. And and that's kind of at the core of gaming. I appreciate both of your times. I've taken all of Angela's today. Safe flight to California, because I think that's where you're headed, to the warm weather of Southern California this year that hopefully is no longer 108 degrees. And Michael will be in touch. Angela, thank you for a glimpse of what the future of land-based entertainment and esports and gaming is all about.
Thank you so much for...
Thank you, Gary. Thanks for
Angela,
having
my pleasure again. Michael, always good to talk to you and see you. We'll see you again soon.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks, both.
Thanks for listening. This podcast is part of the MAP Esports Podcast Network and produced by Innovation Media Enterprises. Please be sure to leave us a review and follow us on your favorite podcast player.